I had to wear a face mask, and those who would lip read wouldn't lip read. So it was quite a challenge, like for me to deliver my lesson, because they'll just be looking at you and not understanding anything. In terms where I would fail to use sign language, they wouldn't understand. So that was really a challenge. Then also the computer lab was strictly not allowed due to the high number of pupils. So because of the social distance, they couldn't allow a lot of pupils to be in the computer room. So it became a challenge because I had to take people in groups. So that was one, having more workload. I have to do much per day to just cover up something I could just teach in, let's say, an hour to everybody. Yeah, then there was also a challenge of methods of teaching. It was very hard to go for field trips, and my pupils or learners here, they learn more by seeing. So if I stand in class and just teach the theory without them having to witness what I'm teaching on, they would not really understand. So it was very hard to really get the learners into understanding what you're trying to say, because there was now a restriction on trips. There were no more trips that were allowed due to COVID. Then lastly, but not the least, I think much workload. Yeah, there was too much work, a lot of classes, a lot of learners, and learners had to be divided into a lot of classes. So that was a challenge. Then on the use of ICT again, I had little challenges in terms of I had little knowledge. It was only what I could do at that time, and that was through my own efforts to just teach myself and just use my phone as I'm dealing with little learners due to limited materials, IT materials to use. So that was a very big challenge. Yeah, so as a teacher, the ways that I feel can help that transformative pedagogies are at play are coming up with or planning and as well as implementing. So I plan the methods of teaching that I feel could really be better. I plan them as well as implement them, and also creating environments which are good for learning. So physical and social environments that are good for learning for learners. This can also help in ensuring that the transformative pedagogies are at play, as well as also monitoring the learners in terms of their work. You don't just give them work and you disappear, but you monitor, you take them through the process so that they're able to understand. Then I also feel giving students constructive articles on topics is also another way. And also, I came up with 5 major approaches that could help in ensuring that transformative pedagogies are at play, which are constructivist, collaborative, integrative, reflective, and also inquiry-based learning. And also providing all the necessary teaching and learning materials that are needed for teaching. Once these are available, I feel learners or the methods could be achieved and they can be at play all the time. I'll go straight to the challenges that I face in my teaching space. I'll start with lack of...
Christine, you have 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
Yes, remember that time. Thank you so much, but yeah, just bear that in mind.
All right, sure. Right. So I'll go to the challenges that I face in my teaching space. Firstly, lack of effective communication. Yeah, like I said, I teach learners with hearing impairment, and if I have little knowledge in sign language, then I'll have problems in delivering my lessons. Also, little lack of training, lack of IT training equipment. So yeah, I have a challenge of ITs. There are few, so it's hard to teach without a lot of IT equipment. Also, lack of teaching and learning materials. There are very few books for learners, so that is a challenge. And workload due to lack of teachers. Yeah, my school has less teachers, so we have lots of classes with few teachers. So that's a challenge because I would spend more time in teaching a lot of classes instead of resting and preparing for the next ones. Also, the fixed curriculum. In my country, we have a fixed curriculum, which is a challenge to the pupils with disabilities. Their learning pace is very slow. So if we teach them the same as the hearing, the pupils who don't have disabilities, that is a big challenge because they write the same exams. So you'd find that you haven't like finished the syllabus, teaching the syllabus because of their slow pace. And when the exam comes, you find that the learners are behind, and that's a big challenge. So the possible solutions to the challenges that I face would be, I feel there should be effective communications. Teachers should be trained in sign language because it's one of the reasons why there is less effective communication. So teachers should be trained in sign language, not only in sign language, they should also be trained in IT skills so that they are able to find other ways, possible ways in which they can easily teach their learners and acquire knowledge and skills in a faster way. Then I feel there should also be many teachers, but must be deployed in schools. Like I said, there are lacking of teachers. So if many teachers are deployed in schools and are given classes, it would be very easy to concentrate on few classes and you give your best, you're not tired, you're able to deliver your lessons effectively. Then there should also be motivation to the pupils. So as teachers, we need to motivate and encourage the learners when they underperform. You can still play a bigger role as a teacher so that when you encourage them, they can be able to do well. Learning and teaching resources should also be provided since that is lacking right now. I feel the government and just any other organizations that are ready to sponsor, they can also help in providing these learning and teaching materials. Thank you so much. I think that'll be all for now.
Thank you so much for that very detailed experience in as far as your teaching experience is concerned. What I'd like to highlight or just ask in terms of what you just shared with us now is you mentioned, the curriculum that is fixed, which is a problem. You mentioned teachers not being, prepared in as far as ICT is concerned. So perhaps for our audience, right, it's very important probably just to give a background of the kind of school that you teach in, what special needs are you actually working with, because special needs, it may mean different things in different contexts. So probably if you can just take us through the actual special needs that you within your school face. You didn't mention the hearing impairments, but I think for us just to understand the extent to which you are talking about in as far as special education and learners with special needs, please take us through the various special needs that you as a school you are dealing with. And also it might be also be very much helpful to give us one lesson in a class where you're like, okay, fine, in this particular lesson, this is when I use technology for teaching and learning, and this is how I transformed my teaching in understanding that my learners, they take a while in order for them to understand. So probably if you can just take us through, just paint a picture for us as to what is the need, the special need that your school is dealing with, and what experience in a teaching experience that you can literally share with us that, with this teaching moment, this is when I then transformed my teaching in order to ensure that my learners understand the content better. So just give us those two briefs, and then we're able to move and just probably get an understanding of the kind of school that you are then working under or working with.
Okay, so I'm at St. Charles Special School, like mentioned earlier in your welcoming remarks. And my school only deals with learners with hearing impairment only. Yeah, it's only with hearing impaired learners. And I teach mathematics. Yeah, I teach mathematics and also history. So I'll give an example of history. In mathematics, mostly it's not very challenging to teach because they're just signs of numbers and letters. So if you fail to find a sign for a word, you just spell it out and they'll be able to understand. So I'll give you a teaching experience on history. So I was teaching on Shaka the Zulu, and that's like a lot. That's an essay which doesn't have all the signs in sign language. So the easiest way I did, I took my pupils to the computer lab and we watched the movie right on the computer. So the only challenge that they had, those who couldn't lip read, was to understand. They would just see pictures, though they're very smart when it comes to, once they just see something, they're very smart to follow. Yeah, that's how my pupils are. They're smart to follow. So I was able to use the technology in that way. I played the movie and we're able to follow together. As we are watching, I'm also able to sign. So it was quite easy like that. They were able to grasp everything just like that. And not only just Shaka the Zulu, a lot of topics there. So that was how I helped my learners using IT.
I love it. I love how you use, technology for teaching and learning, and just to ensure that you accommodate the different learning styles of your learners. So you understand that your learners learn best through seeing. So you also incorporate that in your teaching, and which is very, very important for us as teachers to really be aware of. And in now, as you're teaching during, COVID-19, during a pandemic where we can't physically, most of the time, can't physically be in the classroom, it's always important that we add these resources to our teaching and learning practices so that it becomes more, understandable to our learners. So thank you so much for sharing that experience. So I think now to our audience, right, I'm aware that we can't now use the chat box. What we'll then do is, during our Q&A session, please just ensure that you note down your questions, and then after all the speakers have spoken, you will then be able to be given an opportunity to unmute yourself, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and then pose your question. So as it goes right now, please just ensure that you note down your questions to our panelists, and then just for our Q&A session, we'll then be given an opportunity to unmute yourself and then ask your question. I hope that is okay with everyone as we move to our second speaker. Vivian, over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for making time. I know that you have a very, very busy schedule, as is the case with all the teachers for this panel. So please just take us through your own experience, your own understanding, your own knowledge and skills, in as far as how do we then prepare or develop teachers in order to augment transformative pedagogies. And perhaps it's very important also just to probably break down the very same topic that we're trying to then tackle, to say, what do we mean by transformative pedagogies? What do we mean when we say we want to develop teachers in order to augment transformative pedagogies? What do we mean in as far as teaching, design, and architecture is concerned, for the benefit of our audience, of course? So over to you, Vivian. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Bali Mungumi, if I got that.
It's Bali's laptop because of technical issues, so it's Bali's. Yes,
Okay, thank you so much for having me. It's such a great pleasure to be here. Although I have my screen to share, I have
Vivian, are you still with us? Vivian? Okay, I think we're having an issue right now. So what I'll then do is I'll just move to our third speaker and probably come back to Vivian with time. Ma'am Dishishi, are you available to just jump in while we are waiting for Vivian? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes, probably you can take us through your presentation, bearing in mind that Vivian is having some technical issues. Is that okay with you, ma'am?
Okay, I was asking if I can share my screen because
Okay, Vivian, you're back.
yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am Dishishi. We can just go back to Vivian.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think in the interest of time, we can just talk and then we take it from there because remember I'm not using my laptop, so you may not be able to give you access to being able to share the screen. So you can just share what you have with us and then we take it from there.
Okay, first I would like to unbundle the topic.
But what are you doing?
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, but now I'm struggling to really understand what's going on with our screen. Are you sharing your screen with us now, or you're still talking? Because now there are a lot of tabs that are opened.
Yes, I'm trying to share the screen. Trying to share the screen.
Is it possible to just read from your laptop instead of sharing the screen? Is it possible? In the interest of time, I don't know if you can just do that for us.
Okay.
Yes, please. Or if you can just get it quickly.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right, great. So I'm going to be talking broadly on this topic because it encompasses a lot. So this is not something we're going to dissect just like that, because we're going to have to actually take it bit by bit, like educators that we are. Sorry about the delay a little bit, but here it is. We'll just have to kickstart. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. You can continue.
All right, thank you very much. So we are actually talking about teaching design and architecture. How can teachers be developed to augment transformative pedagogies? So this topic is really, really, really important to me because we are looking at it in an African rural and township perspective. We are Africans, and that's a good part of it. And we can relate with the situations and everything going on in our communities, in our neighborhood. So as African, we have, have recorded the highest rate of drop out of school children. All right. So where are we actually getting it wrong? So for me to dive into this topic, we are also going to understand the concept. What is teaching? Who is a teacher? What is teaching design? What is architecture? This is really an adaptive challenge, and it's very concrete. And for us to get the right message out of it, we want to take them one after the other. So we are going to be looking at what transformative means, the word transformative, the pedagogies for maybe some persons that, oh, I've heard about this word. What actually is it talking about? And how we can develop ourselves as teachers. Then we'll also look at the problems because it is not just about the talking. We really need to focus on what challenges, what are the barriers and the limitations to achieving, to developing ourselves as teachers, and what are the solutions we can apply here. So there are so many scholars have, given definitions about teaching, and coming to our African society, everybody believes they are teachers. Okay, in a layman understanding, we were meant to understand that our parents, our home background, they are our first teachers. right? So, but coming to the professional aspect of it, are they really effective teachers? Are they really giving us the right teaching? Are they really providing us with the right knowledge that will enable us compete in the global community? So looking at the word teaching, according to the B.O. Smith, who defined it as a system of actions. These are actions intended to induce learning. So what are those actions we teachers are actually bringing into our classroom? Are they effective? Are they efficient? Are they bringing about the right learning process? Are they actually giving us the intended result that we desire? But for the Gage 1963, that one gave me the right definition. That is one of my favorite. He said that it is a form of interpersonal influence aimed at changing the behavior potential of another person. It is an interpersonal because as a teacher, you need to develop an interpersonal relationship. You need to lead from inside out. If you're able to lead yourself, then you should be able to lead another. So we're very creative, and for an effective teaching practice to happen in our classroom, we need to also understand the scientific evidence of that, knowing that whatever impact that we're bringing into the classroom, the children are building on it, which will in turn help them to develop and apply that in our evolving society. So now we are teachers. Is teaching a science or an art? Oh, I chose teaching because I'm probably in an art class. Oh, you can as well be a teacher while you're in a science class. Because I have a lecturer, a professor right now. She diverted from the science. She studied nursing. She practiced for a short time, but she wasn't finding that profession fulfilling. She said, "Oh, teaching, this is what I actually want to do." She is now a professor from nursing degree, practicing in the hospital to the classroom. Now, she was healing, the physical aspect of human beings. She's providing healing, she's providing solution to the physical health of another human. But right now in the classroom, as a teacher, you are healing from inside out, both the physical aspect, the psychological aspect, the emotional aspect. That is why this profession is a noble profession. So I'm going to bust our bubbles that teaching is both science and art. Why? Because as a science, it's built on research. Because you need to discover every individual child, you discover yourself, discover your classroom, then you apply creativity into that, making decisions that will bring inclusivity in your classroom. Because every method, every technique, every methodology that's been applied in the classroom is built upon research. Because we'll continue to do research, we'll continue to develop policies that will help us to introduce new ideas, innovative and long-lasting solution ideas into our classroom. So for me, as I'm an educator, how about you? You're an educator. People call you a teacher. I'd love to be called an educator because teacher is, it's an abused word. It's too local. I want actually to be sexy. So as a teacher, you want to work to be respected. Man, you got to like package yourself so that people have to see that, reflect on your personality. I'm an educator, a passionate educator. So as a person with the accurate and specific ability, that's who I am. With intuitions, with education, that's the knowledge and experience, skills, and qualifications to teach a specific subject. Like I say, anyone could just come up to say, "Oh, I'm a teacher." But if you do not have the skills, you don't have the experience, you are not qualified, you do not have the knowledge, hence you're not part of the profession. You are a quack teacher, just like we have quack doctors and medical professionals. Yeah, you need to be certified to join the Noble League. There's the league of gentlemen and ladies. So here, teaching design. We've been talking about teaching design. What is it all about? We really need to unbundle this. Design. We have fashion designers. We have architectural designers. Everybody designs it. So what are we actually designing as teachers? Are we just in the class like some two-way streets and we are talking about oh, what the curriculum talks about, the syllabus talks about, and then you dump into their brain and then you step out without realizing that oh, is it actually, I mean, bringing about a relative change in their behaviors? Is there any new knowledge being imparted in them? Is there some sort of reinvention in our classroom? Oh, well, sorry about that. I don't really like a boring classroom as a teacher. So for teaching design, these are behaviors or activities that a teacher deliberately collects, you select, flexibly applies that into your practice. And also students begin to construct meaning in that practice. So here is my favorite design or model, I'll call it the Bloom taxonomy. Um, this design works perfectly well for early childhood and elementary school. Yeah, because I've worked with children of that certain age. So, what is Bloom taxonomy about? It looks at the cognitive development of a child, the affective development, that's emotions, and the psychomotor skills, movement, fine motor, and fine motor skills, how to grab, grip, draw, play around. So whatever lessons, whatever experience you want to bring into the classroom, ensure that it encompasses those three. Because as the child is growing cognitively and you're not paying close attention to the emotions and how, because that's what the world has turned into right now. Because children, young people do not have regards for emotions. Talking about an experience that happened in Nigeria a couple of days ago, and a doctor who boarded a train, unfortunately, got attacked by the terrorists, Boko Haram, like unknown gunmen, was attacked and all of that. And she tweeted on social media, "Oh, I got shot." Like, you really needed to hear what the response is of humans, just like you and I. Oh, you got the mind to tweet than seeking for help. You are lying. Oh, are you dead now? Could you imagine those kind of questions coming from a human? Are you meant to show empathy? Are you meant to call for help? Are you meant to do some fact checking to ensure that that tweet or that message actually came from the right or the wrong source? So that's a problem. We really need to build on a whole child. So coming to the architecture, we have architectural designs and structures, and teachers, I mean, I will keep saying that we are a unique, blessed set of people on the planet, and we don't even know that. And nobody tells me otherwise. And you don't have to look down on my profession or because I'm a teacher. No, I run a scientific research. I put creativity into my work. I look at developing people emotionally, psychologically, physically, all around human beings to become the best version of themselves. So that's what the word architecture comes to be. It's considered a profession on the art and science of design. This is why I mentioned earlier that teaching is an art and also a design. So bringing creativity into your classroom, bringing the architectural design into your classroom are ways you can augment and make teaching fun. So we talk about augmenting. According to the Merriam Dictionary, it means make greater, more numerous, larger, or more intense. You are augmenting something. So add something to bring about a broader positive change into it. So transformative, the Cambridge Dictionary defines it as a causing a major change to something or someone, especially in a way that makes it or them better. So in 5 years to come, or let's say in the previous years as a teacher, seeing your students this year or maybe in a year to come, would you be proud of what that impact you've created? Would you be proud of that architectural design which you have built around or on that child? Would you be proud of it? Yeah. For me, I'll be really proud and I look out for more. I don't know about you. That these are the things we also need to put into consideration. So pedagogy. Oh, principles of teaching. Oh, ethics of teaching. Oh, what is this all about? Engaging and contributing to children's learning and development. It simply means engaging them. bring new things, bring new principles. What works for you? What works for individual student? So you can't generalize a model. You can't generalize a design for every child in your classroom. They're all unique beings. They're all unique individuals. So when we're bringing about transformative pedagogy in our classroom, we have to look at an educational design that inform, equip learners with the capacity to effect change in one's environment. Let the change be positive, be a positive change. It's not just about creating change, but it has to be a positive one at that. So I'm all about positivity. I'm all about great vibes, and we need to bring that into the classroom while inculcating values. So how can teachers be developed to augment transformative pedagogies? Yeah, we all teach. I don't know if, you know, in Africa, a lot of teachers, we have, according to UNESCO, basically, Africa has the shortage number of teachers, female teachers. And we need them more because they understand, especially the female girls, better. Now, we have been talking about how we can build on our students, but now how can we develop ourselves? One thing we all need to know is intentionality. Are you intentional about your growth, about your personal development, about your professional development? Because within the last couple of months, I'm still right now, I'm currently wrapping up with 3 courses, one with STEM education, how to incorporate that in the classroom. These are personal developments because I would need to apply them in my classroom or in other fields. Okay. Talking about research, I'm taking on a program on research, how to build a social development research and how to work on drafting and working on efficient policy. This is intentionality. All right. I chose to do that. So as a teacher, you must be intentional about growing yourself first. And then by creation of annual licensed professional development opportunities. In Africa, we have a limitation when it comes to accountability, all right, and implementation of policies. It's not just about writing ambiguous policies. How do we implement them? Do we actually have elements of checks and balances? Do we have people who we are accountable for? Do we have people that are accountable to us? That's the problem. Because looking at our leaders, everybody seems to have immunity clause, all right? But when we are conscious, when we are intentional about developing ourselves and bringing those in the government agencies and stakeholders on the table, have a dialogue with them that this is very important, then we're going to build ourselves and our institution, our system, and Africa as a continent, because we are lagging behind when it comes to education. Okay, so my opinion here is we need to start an annual licensing professional development programs for teachers, because if you fail it this year, man, you're dropping off, or you have to sit at home and take it back again next year. That's, yeah, no matter how your certification, your qualifications, or your postgraduate, we really need to continue to build ourselves, how to operate basic computer literacy skill, how to adopt some new design in the classroom, the STEM education. We shouldn't even go far. I don't want to go far because some schools that are more advanced use smartboard now, while some in African society still on the blackboard, while some have progressed to the whiteboard, and it's not cool. So provision of continuous support for teachers. Many times as teachers, we have used our resources, we've used our allowances to buy resource materials. And I've also gone on some researches to know why elementary school children drop out. Like, oh, I'm done with school. What? At that age, what actually makes you drop out, or you just don't want to continue with your studies? So there are some issues and factors that contribute to that. So that's why the scientific aspect of teaching comes in research. We need to do research to ask why and know some recommendations to make to that effect. So we need to support teachers setting up their classes.
Ian, you have 2 minutes left. Please be cognizant of that.
Okay, thank you. And then need support, guidance, and feedback so they could function better in their classroom. We'll also look at to invest in high quality teacher education trainers, directors of school, head of schools. How often are they being trained? We need to consider that as well. So build structural instructional leadership at all levels. You know, teachers have to lead from within. You need to lead yourself first before you can lead another. So we're not longer looking at the top bottom approach. Now we need to have a dialogue, a conversation of how everyone can get involved. Because when the head is not functional, then it's going to affect every part of the body. That is, from the head teacher, the director, the ministers of education, everybody needs to be equipped with the right skills, knowledge, and experience to function at that level. So, to promote national collaboration, practical professional development, and also exchange program for teachers, not just international exchange program. You know, within your country or within the African continent. Oh, I want to go to Zambia. I want to go to Rwanda. I want to go to South Africa on an exchange program. Then we can bring South African teachers here, paid, so we can exchange cultures, exchange knowledge and ideas that we can introduce into our classrooms. So, and to effectively implement the use of ICT, yeah, we are lacking. Many communities in Africa don't have access to the internet, and that's a problem. At least if they can have radio, the TV set, the phone, I mean, the internet, they will make teaching very easy. Both the learners and the teachers will benefit from that. So the problems, which is the final aspect of that, we have problem of implementation, like I mentioned, the limitation in distribution of nature of knowledge, inexperienced teachers. Every year, teachers graduate, pre-service teachers, but the kind of education that they get from our universities are just not something to write home about. So we really need to work on building our teachers pre-service, because that's where the lapses are more, and not just having them in the system as provisional teachers, but that they actually apply for the program. So, and in conclusion, poor and effective professional development of teachers hurts their students, hurts their communities, and since quality education is so highly correlated with economic growth, it also hurts our nation. So when we get it wrong, there's a saying that goes that if a doctor makes a mistake, patients die. When an engineer makes a mistake, the bridge fall. But if a teacher makes a mistake, generations are ruined. So to wrap it up, according to Bill Gates, he said that as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. So let's continue to empower ourselves. With that empowerment, we can give it out. We can share it with our scholars. We can share it with everyone in our community. We can share it with everyone in our continent and in the global community. So thank you so much. I'm Vani Vivian. You can always reach me on social media and some other platforms where we can exchange knowledge. Thank you so much, Palesa, for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. That was a very detailed and informative discussion that you just brought to us. And I want to touch on a few points that you really touched. Spoke about, building instructional leadership, ensuring that we build also communities of practice, like where we learn from each other. Teachers from South Africa, teachers from Namibia, across the world, we learn and share knowledge together. Now, in terms of your point on building intentional, or rather instructional leadership, with an added layer of intentional, obviously, and strategic and pragmatic lens, right? How can the school leadership, right, help professionally develop teachers in the use of ICTs, within your own country as well? So how can the school leadership help professionally develop teachers in the use of ICTs?
Okay, in my country, yeah. So how the professional leadership has helped teachers. So there has been some of those ongoing trainings. I taught in a private elementary school, and we had an instructor, a trainer who flew all the way from the US, fully sponsored by the private institution, not the government. And I benefited from that. I could prepare courses online. Students could be on holiday and we're exchanging content online. You do your assignment and you send it back. So these are one of the experiences that professional development and leadership provides teachers. Okay, coming to the rural aspect of it, that is the marginalized sectors of education. And that is a very big challenge for us as a continent. And giving room for private universities, private institutions to keep springing forth. And if our leaders, sadly enough, we keep talking about that because over the years we've had bad leadership in Africa. It's not just about one country or the other. It's an African problem. Why do we keep bringing up, recycling leaders who are not innovative? So if we can get the leaders to do this, make sure that this training or this facilitation happens annually, like I mentioned. It's going to equip not just the school directors or the head teachers, but the teachers as well. Because when the head has a problem, then other parts of the system will have a problem. Starting from funding, provision of resources, and teachers training. And lastly, one of the vital aspects of that is admission of students into the universities. Some of them got programs that they didn't even apply for in my country. Actually called provisional admission. Imagine I have about over 80 students who are in my department, but unfortunately, about 45% of them like, I don't even need this degree because I'm not even going into the classroom, right? I didn't apply for this. I was given because I had no option to stay home and to wait for another year to get back to school. So the system is messed up, really. Okay. So for me, I was actually lucky. I applied for that because right now, not many want to become teachers. A child, you can't even ask a child, oh, do you want to be a teacher? You wouldn't even wait for the child to respond. You then hear, no, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be, and all of that. So my desire is to make the teaching profession really attractive by the way you dress, by the way you speak, by the way you relate with people, how you present yourself in the global space. One is intentional development. Because I wouldn't access this platform if I hadn't developed myself this month.
Yes.
So education gave me a voice. And for young girls and for young women, if you can get the right education, you really have a voice. You're very powerful to change the narrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we can start there.
Thank you so much. I mean, in your presentation and also in your answer, you're bringing in like some of the socioeconomic issues that are literally facing this teaching fraternity as a whole. I mean, talking about the issue of representation, the issue of quality education, which are very pressing matters in as far as the education fraternity is concerned, and also in as far as teaching or teacher development is concerned. So thank you so much for highlighting those important points. Now, just going to move swiftly to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Potato. Potato, please come on so we can see you, and then you can just give us your own experiences and as far as teaching within and before COVID, and also the problems that you're facing. How can we then develop teachers in order for them to augment or just to then implement transformative pedagogies within their own teaching practice? Remember, you have 7 minutes, ma'am. So over to you, Potato.
Hello. I don't know if you can hear me. What is challenge about?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, the sound is a bit off, but yeah, at least we can hear you. Thank you so much for making time. I know that you have issues of load shedding and you tried, Yazin. You tried. Thank you so much. So yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Yes, I found this very interesting because in the basis of architecture, I think that we hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Probably just turn off your video mode so that we can just hear you, because I think there's the interference with the video and the voice. So just use your your voice just for now and just leave the video or the camera off.
Okay, is it fine now? Okay, I found this very interesting. Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. I found this
Yes.
really interesting because I saw that I also learned.
Please project your voice, Khutata. We can't hear you. Just be a bit louder,
Okay,
if it's possible.
is it better now?
It's a somewhat better, but yeah, I can just continue talking.
Okay. As I was saying that I found this
Yes.
topic interesting because I also learn and see how I can be developed as an educator and be able to see where I can make difference in the perspective of rural education. With, the transformative pedagogy, as it has been defined, I feel that it combines the element of contra and critical method of learning, and it empowers students to examine critically their beliefs, their values, and knowledge with the goal of developing a reflective knowledge. And I will like I've just give you guys the background of this transformative pedagogy. As an educator in the rural area, I've experienced a lot of challenges. Okay, it was before the pandemic, COVID-19. Now, now that we are working in doing a lot of things in with the restrictions of COVID-19, I've recently experiencing challenges with the what do you call it, the age group? Yeah, age group. I'm a foundation based teacher. In foundation phase teaching phase, there are a lot of elderly people, which I've seen that the system needs to maybe to change that
All
to
right, so what I'm going to do, right? What I'm going to try and do, Khutazo, so sorry to just disturb you, ma'am. What I'm going to try and do is, because I'm hearing you speak in terms of how the system needs to then accommodate elderly people. So what I'll then do is I'll try and, become a translator of some sort because we're really battling to hear you, right? So as you talk, I'll try and, interpret what you're saying. Is that okay with you, ma'am?
that is okay.
Yeah. So right now you're talking about how the education system must then accommodate the elderly people.
Yes, as I was saying that
Okay.
it's not
How
okay.
so?
I'm a young teacher in the foundation phase, which
Yes.
set some of information for teachers to receive to get. They have to get it through the internet, through shared shared multimedia. So what you understand, and then they have to be an audio or printed anything. So for these teachers to receive such information, they need to be computer literate. They need to be um, internet, like they need to be literate in internet. So that thing has been my challenge in rural areas. Other things are maybe we receive an information or we are using ATPs and this okay. So I don't know if you can hear me because my network goes and
Yeah, we lost you there for a bit. So what I'm gathering from your side is that there should be, in terms of elderly education, oh, is she still with us? Hutas, are you still with us?
can you hear me?
Yeah. So what you're saying is, the elderly must then be prepared in using the computer so that they can access information
Yes,
from the internet, right? So there is that knowledge gap amongst the elderly teachers. That's what you're saying.
yes, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
All right. So no, you can continue. We're still with you, at least for now.
Yes. And this method I think is very important because
Yeah.
um those teachers a light in what to do or what makes these learners what makes these learners interested on learning and what makes them.
Sure, we are losing you there, Khutazo. So, are you still with us?
Can you hear me? As I was saying that
Yeah.
these elderly educators, if they can be enlightened in this in a internet, they can get strategies, they can get other skills that they do not have because that's what I've been experiencing, that if you as a young educator, if you want to engage with them and tell
Mm-hmm.
them to do certain method or to practice certain method, it's difficult for them to know or to learn about those methods because
Mm.
they can don't have
Okay. Sure. I think in the interest of time, because we're really trying to ensure that we include each and every speaker as they have prepared, but Hotata's network is literally failing us in this instance. So in the interest of time, obviously, I'm just going to ask Mem Dishishi to just come in quickly, and then we can just, hear her story in terms of her experience in as far as teaching is concerned, and probably with Hotato, will then, do the Q&A session with you, and then hopefully that's when you'll be able to then just give us your overview in as far as your experience is concerned. But for now, in the interest of time, I'm just going to ask Memdi Shishi to just come in and then share her own experience, and then we take it from there. I'm really sorry about that, Hotazo, but yeah, I think in the interest of time, that's the best way I can literally facilitate this discussion. Right. Memdi Shishi, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. Please just take us through how can we then, augment transformative pedagogies in as far as teaching and learning is concerned, and take us through your own experiences, with regards to teaching and learning, and then we get to understand how do we then, reimagine the teaching, design, and architecture. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Did you hear me? Hello?
Can hear you?
Hello? Did you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for this meeting. It's very quite important meeting. So I'm very appreciating that I joined this conversation. I would want to share an experience during COVID-19 pandemic and after.
Yes.
Even though it's not gone, but we are still struggling on it. During COVID-19 pandemic, we have gone into many challenges. One of the challenges is that learners were not performing very well. So it was quite negative. And the other negative aspect is that we did not cover up syllabus. So much of the content that was need to be done in or during that period was not completed. So we experienced also too much absenteeism among learners, and others were dropping out. And another problem that we experience is the interaction, what was quite challenging with our learners. So the most of the core curricular activities were abolished during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we did not cover much during that time. And another problem that forced us not to cover a lot of content, we experienced the lack of resources at our school. We don't even have a computer lab. So the teaching and the learning was very challenging, of which learners also should put on their face mask. And it was very disturbing. And lack of communication or effective communication was also identified. And most of our learners did not even pass very well, especially on the reading component. For now, after these few days, the education was so quite better comparing to 2020. So the interaction with learners was improved, even though it is not of the quite excellent. And it was so good that we can interact with our learners, and at the same time, we can involve them in co-curricular activities. And the method of teaching was so interesting because we used to communicate with our learners, and the absenteeism is also dropping. We can do much on the assessment. And I can also say that it's good that we can interact with our parents, as we all know that parents are the key educators. We are happy that we can communicate with our parents, and then we interact through meetings, as our learners also be encouraged by seeing their parents that they also involve or they also taking part in their education. And I would also want to give a brief brief discussion on our educational goals, of which I highlight some the 4 goals: access and quality, equity and democracy. Those that are implemented immediately after we gained our independence. And although Namibia has implemented those goals, there are still some obstacles here and there in the provision of education for all. And in addition to that, the quality of education and the quality of teachers and the performance of learners, especially at my junior phase, they are quite unsatisfactory, more especially in rural schools. But I think for this to work out these challenges, especially on the quality of teachers, we need to be transformed into a better molded supernumeracy. So most of the teachers are well vested in the art of teaching in a particular subject because they were trained for it. However, I believe that key skills in interpersonal skill solutions are important. Hence, teachers need to be engaged in additional trainings. I should highlight the continuous professional development, that it should be fully reinforced in every school, as this, I think, will benefit teachers in the following. I think engaging teachers in continuous professional development will increase their motivation, confidence, and commitment to teaching. So it also helps in stimulate an effective teaching environment. And I think it also enhances teachers' collaboration and empower individual teachers to become more proficient in their roles. And furthermore, I would also highlight that giving teachers the room for developing themselves, give them the chance to reinforce existing skills and learn new skills that they can apply in the classroom. And they can also upgrade knowledge of subject content by using the variety of learning media. So an aspect that I want to touch on is information communication technology, as it is one of the challenges that facing teachers in rural areas. Lack of proper and insufficient professional support and development in using such ICTs to incorporate them in our teaching and learning practice, and facility and mechanism to enable them to foster ICT and integrate in lessons are unavailable. So in terms of delivering, there are so range of issues that changed the outstanding performance of learners, especially in a rural school, including my school. There are complications in incorporating learners into education without technological skills among teachers, including myself. And I think the Ministry of Education should organize the IC training for all teachers. So the best IC training to be used at school, think of to include mobile phone, internet connection, and computers where we can present our lessons. And they can use of software, educational softwares like cyber software. And I think it should be introduced in each school, because I can also see that the use of television, the video type and DVDs, overhead projects are necessary, and they can help in developing teachers' capability. And I can also saying that this pandemic is also negatively affecting education in so many different ways. Learners had enough time to learn all the necessary content of all the subjects, but since COVID-19 outbreak, the Ministry of Education was forced to reduce the content of the subject of which learners have to master. And the ministry also required to adapt to the online learning, which obviously did not benefit all learners, as not all of them had access to technology facilities. And as a result, those learners become victims of inadequate quality education. And I think that process was a hit sensation to all learners, teachers, and parents. That challenge could have been solved if we teachers could use e-learning or teaching materials such as LMS, but we quite not expert on software development things. And I think transformational learning helps teachers to deeply construct the meaningful knowledge that I can think can go beyond simple knowledge acquisition and support critical ways in which learners consciously make a meaning to master, improve their knowledge. If all teachers should acquire knowledge of technological aspects which can enhance the teaching and learning, then our teaching and learning could be improved in good capabilities. Though I think also the importance of collaboration and partnership with different countries should be of teachers' priority. So the idea of education is based on the sharing of information, of which in most cases, these are factual ideas about a particular subject that we can share. And by missing this component in many educational infrastructures in the diversification of learning process, sharing of ideas from different background, I think it might hold a key to improve educational structures that are in place. Therefore, I believe that collaboration among teachers in different countries is important to bring new ideas and improve the learning process of the learners, including their teachers. So I highlight also the importance of being collaborating with other countries, that it can create a better learning experience. The teachers can collaborate positively, that may help to achieve a betterment of teaching, and they upgrade their quality education. I think this will also allows them to explore new ideas and increase professional growth. I think also it's very important for us to collaborate, because this could build the good interaction skills and learning strategies for assisting learners to achieve the full potential. And I can also highlight on teachers themselves. They can be developed, or they can develop their thinking skills and boost their confidence. And improving social and interpersonal skills would encourage teachers. And I also would like to encourage the ministries from different countries to work as a partnership through online integration. And one aspect that I want to touch is the development of or develop women empowering team. By removing gender bias in our organization, I can think this will also promote the sense of human self-esteem. And I think we could have ability to determine our choices. And it's good if we are given the voice in making or in important or in making decisions or that could affect us. And in a nutshell, I believe that teachers could emphasize on modern education, which focuses more on teaching the learners for improving their intellectual behavior, improve critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. I think by using the various ideas and innovative, such as creating appropriate approach to educate learners, is good rather than use the traditional method of teaching, in which as teachers require learners to recite and memorize the content of study. However, the pandemic has caused communication barrier, more especially in some learners from disadvantaged backgrounds and those with limited access to technology. Hence, teaching design aims to collect resources that could function as a reference points and aspiration to teachers in their practice. So the ministry introduced the initiative training on Jollyphonics, for which as junior primary teachers are included, even not of the teachers are trained so far. I think this initiative, should there a need of teachers to be trained on time, as this phase lays the foundation for all further learning. Therefore, I think the more funds are needed to cater for the whole process. And yeah, is it what I highlighted from the background of my educational aspect? I would like to say I thank you very much. If you could even say some aspects or some ideas of how you people doing things in your country, so that we can also upgrade our professional. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Yes, this is a learning space, as as far as it is a teaching space, obviously. So we are learning from each other, and I think we have learned a lot in terms of the various, presentations that came to answer our question as to say, how can we develop, teachers augment or implement transformative pedagogies in as far as teaching and learning is concerned. And obviously this discussion was centered on the teaching design and architecture. So having said that, you mentioned a lot of the importance of rather building communities of practice, learning from each other. You mentioned also bringing in incentives in as far as teaching is concerned. So obviously these are some of the strategies that departments of education can then, look into in as far as ensuring that development of teachers is prioritized. So thank you so much for that. But I do have a question for you in this regard to say, all right, so you did give and highlight a lot of issues in as far as rural education is concerned, in as far as your own teaching practice and pedagogies are concerned. So now, how do departments of education now, like your departments of education within your own country, develop teachers to augment transformative pedagogies? What do I mean by that? I mean, what are strategies, what are programs that are being implemented within your own country, within your own departments of education to develop teachers to then, teach transformatively? Are there any programs that you can share with us that are occurring within your own country at this point in time?
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. The program that's currently on our table is only the Jolly Phonics that is introduced by our ministry.
Yes.
To include all the junior primary teachers to be trained on using the Jolly Phonics. But the problem is that I highlighted before that we have a lack of facilities, of which we are urging the partnership in different countries to assist the Namibian teachers if they could assist financially for us to improve our teaching fraternity.
Yes.
So again, on coming to our school level, the Department of Junior at our school, we put an initiative of meeting in every week so that we can discuss the subject content of which we request to teach the same content in every grade. For example, if we have two grade 2s at our school, what the content I'm teaching in my class should be applied or should be taught also in the other grades. So we cannot teach different components at the same grade. So we can assess in particular the same components that need to be accomplished by a grade 2s, for example. And we also planned a workshop every 4 months. Of which we can build ourselves in those professional, continuous professional development of teachers. But the problem here and there that we meet challenges at our school, some of teachers are not involved in this initiative, of which we don't know if they don't know if it's not important or not. I think this we need to encourage them and maybe inform them the importance of engaging one another so that we can better our quality of education.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I do love the fact that there is that program that has been, implemented, because it can't happen in isolation. There has to be some programs in place. There has to be some content that has been learned. There has to be some training that is occurring within the spaces. So at least there is that progress in as far as your country is concerned. So I think to the audience right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us 5 minutes in terms of the Q&A. So we do have Christine and Miss Ndishishi just with us because the two other panelists had to leave early due to competing priorities, if I may call them that. So while we think of the questions, I'm just going to try and wrap up this session by saying that we really did try and rather, talk about the teaching, design, and architecture, and as far as how can teachers rather be developed to augment transformative pedagogy. So the whole idea behind this discussion and behind this topic was literally around the fact that the past 2 years or so have foregrounded extraordinary challenges within the teaching fraternity. And it is through this very important conversation that we at Edtech Bridges bring the audience, the people, the teachers, a multinational, a multi-contextual view of these challenges as teachers think about their teaching practices and how they design transformative pedagogies against the odds under our theme, as I have already mentioned. So this discussion was literally a build-up from our theme, our launch theme last year, which was problematizing and probing complexities around teacher training and digital pedagogy. So the other part that informed this discussion was around the words of Dr. John Henry Clark when he said, Pan-Africanism and African world unity is the answer. The need is not just to unite against something, but to unite for something. And in this conversation, our united front was for teacher ICT development and how can we then, implement or help teachers or develop teachers, augment and implement transformative pedagogies, because we do have to put the teachers at the center of the teaching and learning practices, and we need to put teachers in the decision-making table, because they are in the classroom, they are the people that literally know what works and what does not work. Yes, we have professionals, we have professors in the space, but the people at ground level are very important, and that is what Edtech Bridges are trying to do. We're trying to ensure that the teachers, we put them at the center of the decision-making bodies and the decision-making processes that include the teaching and learning processes. So I don't know, do we have any questions from our audience in terms of, in as far as this conversation is concerned? Are there any questions for Christine and Ms. Ndishishi before we can close off? Takalan, are you with us? Do you have a question? You can just unmute yourself if we have. William Jackson is also part of the team, so we are very much accommodating as far as the questions are concerned. Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions.
All right, Takalan, yes, you're on the platform. Thank you so much. Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Oh, I said I don't have any questions.
Don't have any question?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
And then William, yourself, are you fine? Are there any questions?
I don't have any question, ma'am.
Right. All right. I think that's how we come to the end of this discussion. I know we've taken a lot of time due to technicalities in the beginning, and a lot of people have been saying that they can't access the link. So there was a lot of technical glitches. They'll tell you that whatever that could go wrong will literally go wrong. So we did try and do our background checks, but we know technology, you can only do so much. With others, it was connectivity issues. Obviously, that is why I always prefer hybrid events where others are online and others are just, attending physically, because at least we can now try and navigate and, see our way around that, facilitating such conversations. So thank you so much for your time. Until we meet again, we'll then have a chance to just try and, have more webinars where we, invite more people from Africa, and then just take it from there. And then, Lelo, over to you. You have the announcements for us. You have the vote of thanks for us. So over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be given an opportunity to actually thank all our dignitaries. It's unfortunate that we don't have everyone here, but in their absence, I'd like to thank all our panelists. Christine Sitali from Zambia, Vivian Ubani from Nigeria, Khotato Tau, who represented SA, Miriam Deshishi from Namibia, and of course our facilitator, Balisa Mufukeng. I think we can confidently say that we have learned, and we look forward to the growth of the use of ICTs in the classroom, especially in the African context. As an educator myself, I've learned so much. I look forward to our second quarter of the school year, ready to empower myself and my learners as we navigate teaching throughout the pandemic and further. So thank you all for taking time off your busy schedules to join Edtech Bridges today. I really hope that you will continue to grace us with your presence throughout the year. We have quite a number of interesting and educational webinars that we'll be hosting as the year progresses as a build up to our yearly conference in the fourth quarter of the year. Please do follow us on social media. We are Edtech Bridges at Facebook, Twitter, and on LinkedIn. One more thing that you must look out for, especially on our social media pages, please look out for our quarterly newsletter, which will be very interesting and very informative, very educational. That's what we are about as Edtech Bridges. Once again, thank you so much for being with us and have a great night.
Thank you so much. Who may just exit.